wasn't good enough. Let's try again. Say hi! And we got Mr. Chester Whitmore. Say hi! My name is Jovan, and this is my co-host.
I'm Andrea Gordon.
And this is
Hops.
This is the doggy Hops Jules. Don't lick the mic though. Don't lick the mic though. So tonight we're gonna be talking about, and we're gonna just kind of let Chester and Sugar go at it, but kind of like down, and kind of just asking questions and nitpick at them a little bit. And Sugar is totally fine if you want to tell us some spicy stuff about about Chester, if you want to. That's up to you, though. That's up to you.
I don't talk about other people's business.
Oh!
Yes.
So,
I don't do that.
You will be nice to Sugar, right, Chester? Okay.
That's okay. I'm going to remember all of this, Chester. I'm writing it down.
I didn't say that. I'm not staying over here. You see, I'm being quiet.
And when I do see you, you're in trouble.
We're gonna let you.
Okay.
We're gonna let each of you tell your own business. How about that?
Listen. Okay, let me get started. Last night, Denise said something that brought back a memory to me. She said that Al Bivens used to get on the corner and dance. And I used to go to the record shop in my neighborhood. I go to the record shop and I talk to the guy. I said, "You mind if I stand outside and do a little number, with my little hat and everything?" He said, no problem, because they be playing music and it was coming out of the record shop. So I didn't have to worry about playing no music, So that's what I would do to make my movie money. I get in front of the record shop, put on my little tap dance outfit, and get out there in my tap shoes and do my number and collect my movie money. That's what I used to do. About 8 or 9 years old, something like that. Yeah.
Wow. So, do you have any experience doing that kind of busking for money? Yeah?
I was hustling.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm hustling. I want to ask a question. Sugar.
Yes.
Did you know Mary and Sadie Bruce?
I went to Mary Bruce dancing school for a short time.
Yes.
For a very short time. I didn't care for Mary Bruce very much, I'm sorry to say.
Okay.
No, she was a very strict person, and I hadn't run into somebody like her. I went there for a while, but I didn't see where my mother should pay money to a person like that. No, I didn't care for her though. Sorry.
Now, was that in Chicago or New York? Which one?
That was in New York. In New York, on 125th Street.
That's right.
And the school was on 125th Street. Yeah.
At that time, when Pepsi.
No, I had been taught by Buster Brown.
Yeah.
I had been taught by Buster Brown.
Yes.
And the other dancing schools I used to go to, and nobody had treated me the way she treated me, so I didn't care for them, sorry.
These are all prominent dance teachers of that time. So did you ever work with Pepsi? Pepsi Metso?
I knew Pepsi, we were friends.
Yes.
I knew Pepsi. He was a good teacher, he was a very good teacher. But I never took lessons from him. But I knew him, yeah.
These are prominent, these are names of people that you would hear in history books but probably won't know, but they have a great dominant force in the jazz idiom of dance. Pepsi created a lot of the dances, as well as we talk about vernacular jazz forms of Lindy Hop and jazz. These are people who are stuff by Pepsi.
And I saw Pepsi when we were doing filming Spirit Moves. I saw Pepsi because he was.
Okay. That was it. Yeah. We were about.
Yeah.
We just go and ask the question. I'll tell her about it.
Well, we talked about, talking about elements yesterday, and we brought up the Spirit Moves and how that came to be, but you didn't say anything at the time. But you're
no, I didn't. No, I was letting Denise tell her story.
Well,
yes.
tell us about your experience creating your part of the spirit moves?
Okay. Let's see now. What's her name? Oh my goodness. Maureen. She used to come up to Savoy a lot. And, you know, white people was always coming up to Savoy. Oh, we're going to film you, and they're going to show you here and there and everywhere. And we never saw nothing. So when she came up, she had the same spiel. We said, yeah, all right, okay. Yeah, we'll do this, yeah, okay. If we see it, we see it. If we don't, you know? Because we had been disillusioned so many times before. But she lived up to her promise. She filmed us, and it went all over the world. It's still moving along, being shown everywhere. She did not lie to us. And when she passed away, her lawyer sent all of us letters. And they picked a day that we were to meet at the library down at the Lincoln Center. And he showed what she had filmed. And we each got an envelope. And before this happened, the lawyer kept getting, we would call and say, is there anyone that we forgot? You know, if you know of anyone that we didn't get in touch with, please let us know, you know. So that day, we went down to Lincoln Center and we saw the filming, and he gave everybody an envelope. And in the envelope was a check and a little note from Maureen.
That's amazing.
I thought that was beautiful.
How wonderful that she actually
When I
acknowledged you all.
got to her rag, and they had some, you know, was showing it, I said, oh my goodness, it really did go all over the world, you know. Yeah, and everybody said, oh yeah, I saw you. I bought Spirit Move. I saw you in the Spirit Move. You know? So she really lived up to everything that she promised.
So tell me about filming the Spirit Moves. Where was it filmed, and were all of the dancers there at the same time, and they took turns, or did you?
No, not at the same time, not all the time. Sometimes it was, you know, it was like she did certain parts, you know. We filmed it at the Savoy Ballroom. I don't know where other people filmed that, you know, but sometimes there would be the dancers from the Savoy, and then like I said, I saw Pepsi and Al Mims, and you know, they were there at certain times. But we weren't always together when it was filming.
And for your section of that film, who else was in that section? Who were you dancing with?
Well, I danced with Big Nick. I danced, I think, with Lee Moats and Ronnie Hayes, I think, was in part of it. I can remember everybody that was in it. Teddy, his name was Teddy Theophilus Brown. We called him Teddy, yeah. Let's see. I saw Esther once when she came to film. I saw Esther.
Esther Washington?
Yes, I did, yes, yeah. I can't think of who else was in it. It was quite a few people, you know. But like I said, we didn't always see everybody. Because I think some of it was filmed at Sandra Cameron Studio, I think. I'm not sure, but I think so. You know, some of the background was familiar, so, you know.
Sugar, I got a question. Do you remember the first time that you met Chester?
The first time I met Chester.
Oh, he cracking up right now.
I don't remember when it was the first time I met Chester. Because everywhere I go, I see Chester. I think I might have met Chester maybe in Harangue. Was that the first time I met you, Chester, in Harangue?
I think we met, I was at the Cat Club.
Oh, at the Cat Club, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the first time. And then later on, we met, we were in Harangue at that time. I was the type of person in the swing community, always when the swing world was coming back. They call it the resurgence of the swing world. And in the late 80s, in the 90s, everybody was going around asking, oh, it started here in London. You know, we had great dance companies like Jive and Lindy Hoppers.
Hoppers, right, yeah.
That was Terry Monaghan's group.
Yes.
And the Zoots and Spangles, that was Ryan Francois. And then we had groups like, you know, out of Holland, and then Germany had the resurgence of Boogie Woogie, the next generation of Boogie Woogie dancing at that time and stuff. But at the time was, everybody asked that question like, you know, what was Chest Track? And they said, everybody littered to like this. Everybody was, Ryan was going like this, everybody was scratching their heads. But they look at their pictures, they always see a picture of me going. They said, wait a minute. He was here at that time, and they pull out a photograph and you see me in the background.
Oh, yes.
Like Forrest Gump, you know, I was there, but you cannot know when I arrived. So I just like, I just came in the scene. It was because I came on the scene because of Rob Van Haren. Rob was the one that got me in there.
Yeah.
And he was spreading the word because he was doing a show. He brought Frankie Santa Barbara. And all of them was there, and that's when Frankie came. Now, I knew Norma before then at that time because I worked on television sets. I was a grip on a television special. This was '76. It was the Richard Pryor show.
Okay.
And Norma was a comedian on that. And then she was a drunk.
Right, yes. I remember that. I remember watching that, yes.
Remember that one?
Yes, I remember
everybody at the bar was drunk.
She was a drunk, right, yes.
Everybody was a drunk in that thing. John Belushi was the bartender. You know, everybody. And that was my first time meeting Norma at that time. I was forming my company at that time. This is 15 years before her reign. This is way before her reign. I was doing film work at that time, and she knew, oh, you're a dancer, and she knows I was tapping and doing stuff. She said, and I kept on saying that name, Norma Miller. I knew who the heck is. And then later on, I found out who she was. And then when I was taking Lenny, it was with Archie Savage. Archie Savage and Maria Bryan was up there at that time. And
right, yes, okay, that's familiar to me. Yeah.
Maria was something else.
Yes, yes.
And so then when I went out of a tour, we had it's always one tour. You can travel all over the world. There's always one, you know, you hear those stories that, and we went out to so-and-so, and we got stranded.
Well, I can truthfully say that I never got stranded.
That's good.
I've never experienced that.
Well,
no.
You're lucky. But it was a good stranded because they made a stopover, and I had to stop in New York City. And I had to stay there for over 2 weeks to deliver our packages coming from Europe. And it was going through New York back to Los Angeles. So I got to stay in New York City to make sure all these packages were going. And then I walked up in the night, and I hear this jazz music laid up there. Wait, you need to go on? You all right? You all right? It's all right. Okay. And so, oh, you know, yeah.
You just want to lay down?
Oh, you want to lay down? You want to lay down? Okay.
Yes, we know you already.
Look at it. And so I walk down the street and I hear this jazz music, and I go in there, and it's at the Cat Club. And that's where you guys were all in there. Everybody was dancing, but in the back, everybody was putting dominoes and all that stuff. And Frankie was there, and everybody was there. They had the Harlem Swing Society, the band.
Right, yeah.
They were there.
I'll blues jazz band, probably, yeah.
And so it was Margaret was there, and who else?
Margaret check, right, yeah.
So,
at that time I was living in Connecticut.
Ah.
Because we had a 13-room house in Connecticut. My daughter was up there with me, and that was with my second marriage. My son was with me, and we lived in Connecticut, but I would come down on Sunday nights because Sonny said that he was going to the cat club on Sunday nights. So I said, oh yeah, so well, give me the address, and maybe I'll come up. So he said, well, I only stayed until like 12, and then he said, I have to go to work. I said, that's the perfect time for me. I'll come down from Connecticut, and then when you leave to go to work, I'll go with you and get the train to Grand Central, and go home. So that's what I would do. I would come down on some Sunday nights, and Sonny and I would leave together, and I would go to, I'd get off the train at Grand Central and take the train up to Connecticut, go back home. Yeah, I used to love coming there. I used to dance with Buster. Buster Brown would be there. And I didn't be with Buster. I danced with Frankie. Yeah. There was a couple of people that used to go to the Savoy. They would be there. I see Margaret, and it was fun. It was fun coming down on Sunday nights. Yeah.
Buster was something else. Buster, that was my partner in crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would do some crazy stuff. Especially in the tap world, we were like bandits.
He was my Lindy partner.
He was, Buster.
Yeah, we played Barbara and Sonny and Buster and I. We appeared at a club on oh my goodness, it was 14th Street. Oh, I can't think of the name. Huh? No, it wasn't Palladium. It was another club down there. But we were there. We worked there for a week. We would appear there, and Buster was my dancing partner. Plus, he was also a tap dancer on the show. Yeah, he was my Lindy partner, though. No, what's the last one?
You didn't know Buster did that?
I didn't know Buster danced with her.
Oh yeah, he was Buster or something else.
I knew Buster from the age of 8. 8 years old.
From the age of 8?
From the age of 8, my mother met Buster Brown because it was the three of them that was tap dancers that came from Cleveland. They ran away from the mafia and came to New York, and they had got a gig at the Apollo. And then when they finished with the Apollo, and they was trying to get work, my mother, like all the entertainers, would migrate to my mother's house, my mother's apartment, and my mother she liked to cook for the entertainers, and she loved being around entertainers. And we became friends with the 3 Speed Kings were their names, and it was 3 tap dancers. It was Sylvester Luke, Buster Brown, and oh my gosh, what was his name? The other guy had one name. He didn't have 2 names. He only had 1 name. He died a very young man. He wasn't in New York too long before he passed away. I don't remember why, but he passed away very young. And it was just Buster and Sylvester. They used to call him Sil. Sylvester Luke was his name. And he was like my mother's boyfriend, became my mother's boyfriend, Sylvester Luke. So Buster and Sil was always at my house. And when I was going to dancing school, and when I would come home, and they would say, show me what you learned today. So I showed them my little steps, And every year, when we did our shows at the dancing school, my teacher would tell me my song, and then I'd learn the song, and she'd give me the routine to it. So as I would come home with my steps I learned in dancing school for this particular number in the show, Buster and Sil would say, let's see what they showed you today to go with that song. And they would change the steps, and well, what about changing it to do this step instead of that step, So like the night of my concert, I would do the routine that they taught me. So after the second time that happened, the third time, my teacher says, this is your song, and I'm looking forward to seeing your routine. So the third time, she didn't bother to give me a routine. And I did the routine that Buster and Sylvester taught me, you know. And finally, I was like 9 years old, so he put me in the class with the 18-year-olds because of the way I was tapping. Yeah, I had advanced past the group that I was with from the beginning.
So Sugar, like, how did you get started actually dancing? What got you started doing it?
My mother used to work she used to do the domestic work down in the village for this movie star. She was a white woman, and she was very pretty. But I never did get her name. I don't remember her name. I want to say Harlow, but I'm not sure. I don't think it was her. It might have been, you know. But she was very pretty, like Jean Harlow, you know. She was that type of, you know, blonde and beautiful, you know. And so my mother used to take me to work with her. And while my mother's working, her and I, she would have me in the room, and she had me doing expressions and things like that, you know, for show business, you know. And so she told my mother, say she need to have some training because she's a natural, you know. She said she's gonna do something in show business. She's very good. So my mother tried to get me into dancing school from like when I was 2, and finally when I was 4, she got me into dancing school. So that's when I started taking tap and singing and ballet. But I didn't care for ballet, so I stuck with tap. No, I didn't like ballet at all. So I continued to tap and sing, and then I met Buster and them. You know, they came to be friends with my family and everything. And when I signed up for the Apollo for amateur hour to sing, and Buster was right there with me, you know, and the night I was supposed to sing, I had been there twice, and they didn't get to me because they have this long line. We have this long line in the backstage, you know, waiting to go on. So they're not sure what night you're going to get on. So the first 2 times I didn't make it. So the third week I did make it, and Buster was there with me, you know. And I said, oh, Buster, I said, I got a cold. Oh, God, I'm going to be terrible. And he was talking to me, no, you can do this. You can do this. Don't worry about it, you know. So I sang, oh my goodness, what's the name of the song? Oh, gosh. What is it, Sharon? No, what story was it? It was one of Billy Eckstine's songs. Oh my gosh. Special Kind of Lover or something like that was the name of it. Hey, at 92 I can't remember everything, you know. What can I say? But anyway, I won second prize. I didn't win first, I won second prize. And I was happy for that, you know. I was happy to win second prize. So that's what happened with the singing part of it. And then when I started, after I won the Harvest Moon Ball, I was working with Sonny Allen and the Rockets, and we started singing. We first started out, we were just dancing, and then we were on our way to a gig, from one gig to another in Boston, and Sonny said, ladies, I have a surprise for you. So we said, yeah. He says, well, you know the guy that's been driving for us? So we said, yeah, that's your new singing teacher. We said, what? That's your vocal teacher. He says, our next gig you all are going to be singing. We said, what? So we were on our way to the gig when he told us this, okay?
Oh, wow.
So here's 4 girls. We're going to this gig, right? So Sonny's gonna sing lead and we're gonna do backup, all right? And then he decided, he said, well, Barbara, you've done some singing. Sugar, you've done some singing. So we, you know, the two of you will lead a couple of songs, you know, like that. And we were taking these lessons in the car, going to our gig in Massachusetts, all right?
On the way to the gig, you learned.
On the way to the gig, yes. From
That's
the
okay,
club
that sounds
in
like it's just what
Boston,
you mean.
from the club in Boston to the club in Revere Beach in Massachusetts. From Boston to Revere Beach, and we go into the club, and that's where we learn how to start doing singing, all right? We got the harmony down, you know, for the background songs for Sunday, you know, and we opened up, we killed them. Oh yeah, we opened up, we killed them, man. We killed them. I called my mother that night and said, Mama, we killed them, boy. We brought the house down. So she said, whoo, thank God. She said, my mother said, I had my doubts. I said, me too. We all had doubts. So we didn't have 4-part harmony, we had 3-part harmony. Because one of the girls, she wouldn't stay on her key at all. She would go to somebody else's key all the time. So we had 3-part harmony. But we worked it out, it worked out. Yes, we were great, we were good. We kept a crowd, so that's how we did. Yeah. And now making these, and I made all of our costumes. So now I've got to change our costumes from dance outfits to gowns to singing, and also have dance outfits. So I think I was the first one to make tearaway clothing, as they call it, because I put snaps and seams on the internet. You've never seen snaps and seams. I have gowns that we could take off on stage and have our dance outfits underneath. So that's what I did with our costumes. And we were prepared for every number because we did African, we did modern jazz, we did tap, and we always close with a Lindy number. My partner was a girl. I had a girl that threw me around. I was the flyer, as they say. And Barbara and Sonny, they did the aerials also. So that was our program in the nightclubs.
That's awesome. Thank you, Sugar. I have a question. I feel like when we talk about how we started, I've heard the story now about how you started at the very young age of 2. And I think that maybe some of us, maybe not all of us, have heard the story of how you helped a gentleman with a tire on the side of the road. Stop it. You know I'm talking to you, Chester. But at that point, you already had tap shoes. So this wasn't the origin of how you started dancing, of how you started in this sort of theater arts and all of these things. I want to know what got you interested in art to begin with before this really amazing chance happening with Fairy Villas.
Before that?
Yeah. How did you actually start?
How did I actually start? Well, many months ago, in a galaxy far beyond. I mean, this galaxy. Well, like I said, I was not in show business. I fell into show business. I was not, I fell into it. I was not supposed to be a dancer. I'm not a dancer. I would not say I'm a dancer. I am a storyteller. I'm a filmmaker. And that's what I started as, a filmmaker. And filmmaking, I was in a class learning how to do films because I always watched, I put it like this, I was the oddball in the family. 3 of us, the youngest. We're going to talk about that later. But anyhow, no. Be quiet. Anyhow, ignore them, Sugar. Don't worry. You guys ignore them.
Okay.
They ignore them. They do not I started as a filmmaker, and filmmaking got me into, you have to learn documentary. I learned editing, filming, lighting, Foley sounds, the whole swing. A ballet can communicate. That's what got me sparked. Looking at these different dancers. And I always liked old movies. I always liked sci-fis and musicals, all the Astaire and Bojangles and stuff. And I was wondering, what kind of form of dances did the American form? And they said, well, you got to learn about tap and all everything else. I was like, tap? You know, the ballet company wanted me to go into a ballet. I cannot picture myself in a tutu. You know, I look like a black Q-tip, but anyhow. So I said, the guy said, you should try dancing. Would you learn? I wanted to know more about forms of dancing. So they said, so I was asking different teachers, no, I want to know this type of dancing, the musical. He said, they don't teach that no more. Well, it was at that time, when I was growing up, it was soul music, Motown sound. Everything was good, I mean, which was great for that time, but I was into the other form. And that sparked my intention to get into searching for vernacular form of dance. Now, prior to that, if you want to know my father was a bass player. He was a bright bass player, and he played on Central Avenue. He played with all the rhythm and blues bands, Joe Liggins and different stuff like that. But I didn't, you know, that type of thing, I just knew he went out and did things, but I didn't take no notice of that. All I knew was about the music, and he would take me, you know, my mother would go out, and you know, you gotta take Chester. I would go out, go to the nightclubs, I had my own booth. I think that's why I like root beer floats now. I sit back and eat it, and I've sat back there and watch all these different rhythm and blues bands play. You know, listen to some, and the singers that I grew up with learning was one of them, Brooke Benton. Brooke Benton was everybody said Nat King Cole, I like Brooke Benton. So that was just in my ear back, but not knowing that I was going to later on become a dancer and a musician and everything else. Working with the people that you look at and read, like anybody from Count Basie, Ellington, and even in the contemporary, the Jazz Crusaders and stuff like that, Natalie Cole and you know, Eartha Kitt. I traveled with her, but that started. That was subconsciously, you know, but that started it. Then when I worked for Bayard, that's when everything happened. Not knowing, they said, you need to get an acting class. There's a guy down there to teach tap dancing. You're looking for tap dancing. In schools at that time, tapping was not in. Contemporary jazz was in. You know, the tapping school that I went to, when I was looking for it, was those little, you know, get in there. I said, this is not the type of tap I'm looking for. No. So I said, But I went to a place called Inner City Cultural Center. And that's where the center was at. But, you know, that's where Mr. Nicholas was at. But the day I went there, he wasn't there. And I was riding my bicycle. That's where I found he was in the street trying to change a tire. Nobody was helping him. But I did not know this was the same guy. I did not. So I pulled over and I said, let me go over and help this guy put his tire on this. He looked on the tire on the bicycle. He looked on the bicycle, saw my tap shoes. He said, oh, you are a hooper. And I said, what? You're a hooper. And he was calling me a heifer. A hooker. I said, no, he said, you know, hooper means dancer. Oh, really? He said, I tap dance. I said, I'm going like, yeah, who's this guy talking all this crap? Yeah. I'm putting this heavy tire. He's up there sitting beside watching me, not helping me at all. I put it on, and he said, come by the house and I'll be glad to show you something. I said, sure. I'm searching all the place. After 3 weeks go by, my mother said, you need to take up his offer. And I said, okay, went over to his house. He said, you finally made it. I said, oh, he said, ready for lessons? Yes, I am ready for lessons. He said, show me what you got. I thought it was hot stuff. I said, get back. And I said, he said, interesting. He said, try this. He got on the floor. I said, mine don't look like yours. And that became a great friendship. Through him, he introduced me. I was with him 2 years. Went to his class, became an assistant. He gave me my first job. Came in there and into the class were these people. Donald O'Connor, Eleanor Powell, what's the guy that played on the Beverly Hills, Jed Clampett, the old guy.
Buddy Epson.
Buddy Epson.
Okay.
Buddy Epson. All these dancers. Yeah, Ardelia Thompson was there. I learned my acrobatics with him. I learned acrobatics, and then after that, he introduced me to Clarence Landry Frenchie. They worked with Duke Ellington's orchestra in Jump for Joy. I worked with him. Then Esmond Mosley, I learned my eccentric and comedic dancing, how to take dance steps and make them in comedic format. That's the guy, the group that created the dance called the Peckin'.
Oh, okay.
You remember the Three Chocolatiers?
Yes.
That was them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 1931. And they were also the first Afro-American group that went over to China. And went to China at that time because of Frenchie and came back. And that's how they came back with the Peckin'. Besides, Buck Clayton went over there and they had a cotton club in China. A lot of people didn't know that, but there was a cotton club in China. And so after that's why in San Francisco we had Toy and Wing, the first Asian group that was great tap dancers and ballroom dancers at that time. So I had experience in working with a lot of forms, raised by I was like a throw around kid. I got a little bit of this. I learned women chorus line dancing. I learned Catherine Dunham, and just different moves. And had the pleasure of touring with different bands. Mercer Ellington, Les Brown. I got a chance to play with Count Basie. I was one of his last drummers. Lyle Hampton, Eartha Kitt, stuff like that. So
Wow.
that's some of the stuff. And for the older school, Miles Davis, Jesse Gillespie, as well as contemporary new form, the dancers we had, Michael Jackson, Tina Marie, Rick James. Prince, yes. I won't mention that. I won't mention that. You laughed off of that. I won't go. That experience.
Who haven't you worked with? My goodness.
A lot. And that's when I got into television after that. And I was the only one that had 5 major television shows running at the same time. From 1985 to 1999.
Wow.
But I talk about getting in showbiz? No, I never thought about being. I never thought about being in showbiz.
Well, both of you had such amazing careers, and you're still sharing all that you have to show with us today. We appreciate it, and I just want to give another round of applause to Sugar Sullivan. And she's huge up there. You're huge. You're a big deal. You can't reach her. You can't reach her, Chester. And also Chester Whitmore. And while we're at it, I just want to thank Paul Writing for making sure that we can share this with all of you and those who are watching at home. And thank you also Javon Miller, Ed Gordon, and Hops the dog. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
And don't forget my tech person, Cheryl.
Oh, Cheryl Sullivan. Cheryl, pop back in there.
All the people completely lost.
It's always good to have you.
And production, which is my granddaughter, Michelle.
Bye.